nice if you could ask Finlay what your strange associate looks like. We could then see if the description matches any witness accounts.
I will take my leave, Humphreys.
Goodbye, Doctor.
No, you're going the wrong way. Boarding house. You gotta remember these people by name.
I knew who he was, I remembered.
There is a strong smell of gas. It seems to be coming from the abandoned building. Good evening, Finlay. How are you?
Oh, good evening, Doctor. So. And you?
It smells of gas here.
Ah, you might say, Doctor. Without wanting to speak ill of the force, I have to wonder if the police are up to something.
What do you mean?
Well, I was outside yesterday evening when the light went out at my place, and a gas smell came from the abandoned building across from my place. And a minute later, the police arrived and was snooping all around like it was them who hid the gas before arriving.
Have things sorted themselves out with your strange tenant?
Don't talk about it, Doctor. That man is truly bizarre. He goes to the most sordid locations once night falls. 3 days ago, my wife told me she saw him come in with blood-stained clothes and a fearsome look.
Interesting. What does he look like, and how old is he?
Oh, he's my age, give or take, so the other side of 50. He's always dressed in a striking manner, with an American hat. He's big, close to 5'11", I'd say. He has a strange voice, not just his accent, see, his voice.
Very well. Goodbye for now, Finlay.
Goodbye, Doctor.
Now then, let's go to the police station.
Ready? Guys.
Yes, Doctor.
Tumblety is a man around 5'11", about 55 years old, extravagantly dressed and with a rather distinctive
Sounds like
voice.
Barry White.
He boards at Finlay's. You should know where that is, as the police were there only yesterday.
White is.
Their arrival coincided with a strange gas leak.
Ah, yes, I know where you mean. Indeed, there was an odd affair with the gas. It was rather unsettling. We were searching for a well-known scoundrel who was ratted out by Squibby, the chap we followed and saved from the pack a few days ago. This thug, no pity Bluto, must have been in the abandoned building in question. But there was no sign of him when we arrived. Furthermore, an inspector said that, given the smell, the thingamabob that supplies gas to the building was probably damaged. So we took no risks and were called away somewhere else.
I will take my leave, Humphreys.
Goodbye, Doctor.
Well, it would seem that I have all the information I need for my investigation. Anyway, this fellow Bluto at the Wasp's Nest is rather shady and doesn't look like he'll want to cooperate. I'd be better off returning to Baker Street. Holmes will certainly know what to do. And besides, I am worn out.
He complains even to himself, shit.
B button. Go back to the map. Press the B button. You gotta read, man. You really gotta read. You can't just start
Let's
pushing
go back
buttons.
to Baker Street. Home, sweet home.
By the way, that was done a lot faster. Could have been done
There
even
we
faster,
are,
but
Holmes. I've told
it's
you in
okay.
great detail everything that happened last night.
I was wondering why you were
Excellent work,
going
Watson.
in.
We shall now
I
be
know what order
prepared
you
to
were
answer
going
a
in.
few questions about the horrible
okay.
murder in Hanbury Street.
Just wanna
Do you
dial
think
up
we are now in a
minutes.
position to find out the identity of the murderer of these two women?
No, I don't think so. It's outside of our scope and not our responsibility. As much as you've done for Leather Apron and the affair with the pills, our mission is to help the police by ensuring that they don't get caught up following false leads and to point them in the right direction. Let us start from what we know with some certitude. As you have just said, it is almost certain that the same person killed the Bucks Row and Hanbury Street victims. The reason to assume as much are numerous, and I shan't elaborate here. What do these two victims have in common?
What do they have in common?
Same profession.
It's true these two women were in the same profession, but
Indeed, Watson. These two women were both prostitutes. That is of vital
You don't
importance,
have to use
Watson.
such a nasty word.
Yes, it does.
my memory from your examination of the scene is rather hazy. Didn't you say something about the
Tramp.
killer's frame of mind?
I was talking about the victim's possessions that were placed on the ground and the rings missing from Annie Chapman's fingers. This killer is a cunning predator, comes from a rather humble background, and shows
Lady
steely
in the Tramp,
self-control
though.
in
Do
carrying
you
out
even
the
know
murders.
what that actually
Something
means?
is
the word tramp?
puzzling me, Holmes. Richardson's testimony contradicts
We
the
got a
time of
Disney
death
girl
given
in
by
here,
Dr.
guys.
Phillips, which also matches my own.
Put down in the comments
4:30
how many
a.m.
Disney movies you've seen
And
with
yes, we
those
shall confirm that,
horrible
Watson,
words in it.
and attempt to determine the precise time of death.
Oh, and also make
In
fun of
order to
Chantel.
do that, we will need to place everyone involved on a timeline. Only after that will we be able to place the knife symbolizing our killer. Let's look at our timeline,
Okay.
Watson.
I like how I had me facing that way, and then it's all fucked up.
There is
Oh,
nothing
whoops.
more.
Okie dokie. Let's look at all the documents. Okay, use. 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 Oh, did it for both. Motherfucker. Okay.
We left the station at 6 o'clock, and it took us 20 minutes to arrive at Hanbury Street.
None of these are gonna get any further than this, so.
Our arrival at the scene occurred at around 6:20. Given the distance separating the two locations, we can deduce that the corpse wasn't discovered after 6 o'clock, and therefore that the murder must have been committed before.
And the murder, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, apparently, 4:30 a.m.
Let's put the time of death as assessed by Dr. Phillips on the timeline. The assessment of the time of the murder given by Dr. Phillips and yourself, Watson, 4:30 a.m.
Okay. Read that. She said 5:30.
Now, for the most important part, the testimony of Miss Long. She claims to have seen a woman speaking to a man near 29 Hanbury Street sometime around... What time, Watson? Let us assume, therefore, that Miss Long's testimony is, as is most certainly the case, true. She places her meeting with the victim at around 5:30, claiming to have heard a clock chime on the half hour at the moment when she enters the street.
Fucking controllers getting all tangled up. Okay. Now, Richardson. Quarter to 5 when I got there. So 4:45. And then yes, I believe that is 4:45.
Now, let's put the Richardsons' arrival and departure times on the timeline.
That's 5.
Oh. Okay, and then this one should be. Oops. 5 minutes after. So 5:50 or 4:50.
Yes.
Now, let's put the Richardsons' arrival and departure times on the timeline. Despite the great respect I have for Dr. Phillips and the value I place on our friendship, my deepest conviction is that both of you are mistaken and that Richardson is in the right and that these two testimonies put down in writing have real worth.
But how? Explain yourself, Holmes.
Remember how you assessed the time of death? You touched the fingers and body of the victim, but it was remarkably cold for this time of year. In addition, the corpse had been drained of bodily fluids. Its heat retention was therefore no longer the same as that of an intact corpse.
Egad! You're right, Holmes.
Oh, I've had some time to research, Watson.
Given these facts, my first diagnosis may have been off by half an hour, perhaps even an hour.
Thus, we can confirm Richardson's statement and establish that the murder was committed after 4:50 a.m. and not before 4:30 a.m.
Alright. Now, Kaddish. Wait, wrong fucking thing. There we go. 5:20. And then 5:30. Oh, 5:20. 4 minutes after, so 5:24. And then 5:32.
Our next witness is Albert Kadosh. Albert Kadosh goes down into his garden at approximately 5:20, and on re-entering his home, hears voices in number 29's garden. Let's place this symbol that represents Kadosh on the timeline. Kadosh goes back down into his garden approximately 4 minutes after having left it, and hears the sound of an impact against the wooden fence. Let's place this symbol that represents Kadosh on the timeline. Kadosh leaves the garden, enters his house, then leaves for work, seeing the clock on the Spitalfields church showing 5:32. Excellent, Watson. All our people are now in place.
Yes, but Holmes, Miss Long claims to have seen the victim at around 5:30. But according to Kadosh, someone, most certainly the victim and her murderer, was already in the garden at 5:30.
Excellent observation, Watson. It must be noted, however, that these two witnesses, Long and Kadosh, saw the time shown on the clocks in the area, which are often inaccurate and went by their empirical and, in this case, erroneous estimate of how much time had passed. Thus, neither of these two times can be considered reliable.
Do you mean to say that these two testimonies might match?
Indeed. Let's put Miss Long's meeting with the victim at 2 minutes before 5:30. Let's add Miss Long's meeting with the victim at 2 minutes before 5:30 a.m. Mr. Kadosh claims to have passed by the Spitalfields church at 5:32, which, given the distance from 27 Hanbury Street, would mean he was still at home at 5:31. Let's therefore put the end of his testimony at 5:31. Miss Long heard the man say to the victim, "Will you?" To which the victim responded, "Yes," which would suggest that an agreement was reached and that the transaction was imminent. They then proceeded to enter the garden, which puts the voices heard by Kadosh at 5:29. We had thought that Kadosh had left 27 Hanbury Street at 5:31 after having heard an impact against the fence. Thus, 2 minutes passed between the moment when Kadosh entered the house after having been in the garden the first time and the moment when he returns to go out again and leave for work. How long did he estimate this interval to be? 3 to 4 minutes. In light of all this, Watson, we can finally establish the time of Chapman's murder. Now, place the knife at the exact time.
What time?
5:28, 5:29, 5:31. It's not 5:35. Run that back. Go away! Oh my god.
Yep.
So between the time of them leaving, or him seeing the victim, him leaving after hearing the thud, which was 5:29, so 29, 34? That's too many. was dead for over an hour. Goodness. Shit, I thought I was right. Oh my god.
Oh shit, I forgot.
What? I just forgot the fact of when he said okay, after 32, so it's 3 to 4 minutes after the thump, which is 31. So 32, 33, 34, 35. And that's not right. 36, 34, 33. It's not over there. What the fuck am I doing?
Have you tried 5:30?
I did. Oh
Now
shit!
then,
No, I
taking into
kept. I
account
guess I
that the
kept getting
local clock
5:31.
isn't exact, and that a young man was off by a minute or two in his estimations of his comings and goings, we can confirm Miss Long's
kept putting me at
testimony and
31
place the
'cause I couldn't see
time
'cause
of the
of the damn
crime
hand.
at
Yeah.
approximately 5:30.
I was like, I know what. I was like, it had to have been 5:30, but I'm
But
like,
in that
that's
case,
not right. What the
Holmes,
fuck?
the
I
man
was like,
that
they didn't
Miss Long
change it.
saw is none other than...
That's right, Watson. It was the Whitechapel killer.
To think that Miss Long and Kadosh were only a few feet away from him.
Indeed, Watson. Had Miss Long passed just a little closer to the victim and her assassin, or had the young Kadosh popped his head over the fence out of curiosity, the killer would most certainly already be behind bars.
That's some stroke of luck he had there.
I couldn't agree more, Watson, but his luck didn't end there, given the mutilations inflicted upon this poor woman. What must be considered above all is the killer's obvious wish to remove one and only one specific organ. His surgery pinpointed the exact spot, avoiding superfluous incisions. This suggests the man possesses at least a minimal anatomical knowledge.
Are you suggesting a doctor or a butcher?
Perhaps, but the possibilities are still too broad to conclude with any certainty. Now for the motive. Despite my almost complete lack of practical experience on the subject, I have a rather precise idea of the usefulness of a uterus and a vagina. Nonetheless, once they are separated from their usual envelope, I am more circumspect as to the uses one can make of them. What do you think, Watson? You need a board, Watson.
There's one.
Perhaps it was intended as a study specimen.
I have little faith in that theory. Hardly anything was taken from the Bucks Row victim.
Oh, whoops.